Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to the Vanguard podcast with Idaho 5051. My name is Pine. I'm here with Lotus and Sonya. We are bringing you journalism against tyranny without fear or overwhelm. Today, we're trying to do something a little bit different. Lotus is feeling a little bit under the weather, so we are actively trying to record a more conversational piece and see how it goes. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to
Which is
define what dark money means because, okay, coming from where I grew up in Texas, right, like Democrat was a dirty word, and there were definitely like rumors of upper echelon doing the exact Epstein file shit, right?
yeah.
So when you say dark money, my brain almost immediately wants to fall into like conspiracy theory shit, if that makes sense. But I
Yeah.
know that that's not what it is, and there is an actual like connotation for what you're saying.
I mean, isn't it like Citizens United is basically
But what do we mean by the term
it's
dark
money
money?
that you don't know where it's coming from,
Yeah.
Okay.
and therefore you cannot really trace it
Origins.
doesn't necessarily have to be fully dark, as in no one can see it.
Okay.
It a lot of the times in politics, because people don't know where to look,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or there's not some main place
Not
that
like a paper
brings
trail?
people's attention to it, right? Like
Okay.
some investigative journalism stuff
Yeah.
that gets put out and people all kind of find a way to watch it and connect with it. Because that's so rare to actually have happen. A lot of the times these super PACs, first of all, you don't necessarily know who's donating to them, I think. And second of all, even if you do know what are they called, the corporations that are like conglomerates or something?
Yeah, like monopoly. Well,
Not monopolies, but like
monopoly is a legal term.
there's a subsidiary, but then there's like the parent company, and it's like it gets the
Yeah.
the shell corporation game, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where you have these corporations that are stacked within each
Where
other,
these
and
people own
one
these
of them
people.
is donating to something.
Yeah.
And you have to really follow all the paper trails all the way through to know who might be motivating those decisions.
So it is kind of like the comical conspiracy dark cabal of people.
But
But
some
not
cases, just like
explicitly.
the tragedy of the commons when it comes to information. Like right now, we're dealing with not an information deficit. We're dealing with so much
Overload, yeah.
information that it becomes you're not going to be able to get the quality information to break through the noise.
You're effectively drowning in it.
Which, fun fact,
Is
I
intentional.
think that might be the way of the future to get us away from big data.
Oh, I
Spoofing,
just saw a thing about
basically.
that. About a way to fuck with the algorithms.
Yes, by sending false, like not false, but
You effectively create secondary social medias and stuff that only upload, watch, or follow things that are positive and that are like investigative journalists, things that are like not following the chaos.
yeah.
And
I mean,
some-
that's just building your algorithm.
no, no,
right?
no, not your own. You create secondaries and thirds and fourths and whatever because it only takes a small amount to fuck with the overall algorithm because the overall algorithm is working off of statistics, right? So like
Oh, so you're talking about like the big picture.
the algorithms, yes, like the big ones. Okay, so like Target let a dude know that his
oh my
daughter
gosh,
was
is that what all of the like Russian bot
well,
accounts are doing?
yes. Well, okay, so hold on.
I
That
didn't
that
think
that
about
dude
that
that
aspect.
dude who found out his daughter was pregnant through Target. It's
Yeah.
not pregnancy tests that they look for to predict if you're gonna have a baby. It's
Right.
it's vitamins. It's larger purses. It's different clothing items. Not
His
necessarily.
daughter's shopping habits changed
Yes.
in a way that
and so
showed,
Target sent them newborn coupons.
Right.
He got mad at Target. A couple weeks later, come to find out his daughter was actually pregnant. And Target knew based on the things she was buying,
Right.
not necessarily the birth control, not necessarily the birth or the pregnancy test.
It's not like, yeah,
So
not like Target's out here giving people
and there are
pregnancy
there are other people who have gone in and spent something like $60 to go in and create bot accounts that like certain things, and they've seen statistically how it fucks up the algorithm. So we could effectively change the algorithm by creating different accounts.
That's interesting, and that's different than what I was thinking about. What I was thinking about is I've seen basically for privacy purposes, right? So you're not contributing your data to big data.
Oh, yeah.
You can obscure your actual data by, I feel like it's analogous to spoofing, but I'm probably using it a little incorrectly.
I think I know what you're talking
I have
about.
to Google the word.
Where
I'm
you kind of
sorry.
like, you minimize your own footprint.
Well, you just send out a bunch of signals so that there's noise going along with what you actually click on.
Yep.
So let's say you actually click on an ad. Well, anytime you open a website, the browser that you're using clicks on every ad on your behalf in a way that is off to the side, out of your way, but it messes with the data that is being skimmed.
So basically, you're sending so many messages. One of them is true, but you're sending 100 messages.
So that it's impossible to
So the
know
algorithm doesn't know what your one is.
the quality of the data they can get off of you is just completely obliterated.
Now, how do you do that, though?
People are developing tools to do that, and then we'll have to see if those tools, if the government actually decides to start regulating stuff, right? Because right now, a lot of the reasons we have these issues is because regulations have not caught up with technology, and so maybe when it's no longer favoring big business, we'll start to be able to have some meaningful conversations. Generally speaking, I'm not in favor of more laws, but the point of government in my mind is people working together on purpose to have basically what we would have as a corporation level impact on society, right? And so we have a democratic republic like we have. I'm fine with reasonable regulations on industry coming from a government of the people, by the people, for the people.
I think there's something really important to remember about regulation.
What?
It's almost always written in blood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone got hurt, someone got killed, someone got destroyed in one fashion or another, whether it was economically, physically, and often all of the above, right?
Yeah.
So regulation comes from a place of clearly the industry wasn't going to regulate itself. Look at like the EPA. Like the EPA exists to regulate businesses from polluting and killing Americans
We have
and
child
destroying.
labor laws for a reason.
Yeah. Regulations about child labor laws. Prior to that, 10-year-olds were getting trapped into factories for 10 hours a day doing basically what amounts to slave labor.
Right.
Right?
In the most dangerous roles.
The one that really got me was when I learned that before some of these regulations, people were putting sawdust in bread instead of flour.
Yep.
Oh, so much.
Yeah. Well, they did this.
What do you think a baker's dozen comes from? That kind of shit, exactly.
I thought it was because the baker was munchy.
No. The baker would add enough stuff to the flour so that they could get a 13th loaf that was theirs.
Yeah.
It's in fact, it's what drug dealers do with cocaine.
Why would a baker want to eat sawdust?
Because
bread?
they needed food.
Yeah, and I mean that's really behind it is that the economic disparity.
And theirs usually did have less. They would
predating those laws.
they would keep-
was just something that we can't imagine.
Well, it's like why we have SNAP benefits.
Well, okay.
But we're headed. I guess we're starting to get a picture of it, right?
Yeah.
So okay, what was the purpose of a king or a lord?
Well, that depends on
What
who
do
you
you
ask,
mean?
but
What was the purpose for the general public?
Be overthrown.
No. No. Well, yes, eventually. But the
So fucking
purpose,
American.
the role of a king or a lord was that they would take, like, their serfs, because people sold them serfs, into serfdom, which is why
Sure.
it's vastly different than slavery.
And like protection,
A
right?
lord,
like whoever
yes.
was leading the
A
army.
lord protected the people. If you could not farm your land, they made sure that you had food. They made sure that there were doctors. They were there. Their supposed role was to take care of the people, and in turn, the people allowed them a life of luxury, right? A life of leisure. That is supposed to be the point of the fucking government. Y'all get paid and don't have to do hard fucking labor and physical fucking labor to provide the benefits and the social networks and the social structures that keep society running and keep people living.
well, unless you're our elected officials, then you don't even have to do any
But,
non-physical
I-
labor. Just do what they tell
I
you to.
think
The
I see
theoretical purpose
I
of
think
them.
I see the human tendency for that. I don't think that is the United States of America's.
No, it's the theoretical purpose of government. The theoretical purpose of government is to provide social structures that
to
keep
provide
people
for the common defense, promote the
Yes,
general
to
welfare,
keep
and
business-
secure the blessings
yes,
of
to
liberty
keep
for ourselves and our
businesses,
posterity.
Life, liberty,
From-
and the pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
All that stuff. Yeah, I remember.
Yes,
I think
that
I
is
remember
the
reading that
theoretical
somewhere.
purpose of government. So when we talk about regulations, yes, sometimes we do need them to put in regulations. Sometimes it's a little much. But in many cases, like with Walmart and shit like that, yes, there should be fucking regulations that they're putting in to keep monopolies from happening, to keep places like Walmart from getting 25% of the SNAP benefits that are created because they don't pay people enough fucking money.
Well, like I said, it goes back to this idea that like I don't think it should take 6 months to get solar panels put on your roof, right? Like there are regulations that I don't think that there should be regulations preventing you from putting an ADU in your backyard if you've got
what
the
is an
space
A-
for
what
it.
is an ADU?
Well, if you've got the space to do it safely.
Yeah,
What
I
is
think
an
that
ADU?
ADU is additional dwelling unit, so like a mother-in-law suite or like a tiny home on the back of your
So-
Oh,
property.
there should
I
be
will-
some regulations.
I will never live somewhere with an HOA. However,
Yeah,
I do
HOAs are
appreciate
units.
the basic requirements that come at the city, county, state level on what can be built.
Well, yeah, because you don't want somebody building a 3-story apartment complex on their
Well,
in their
not-
backyard,
we
right?
want that-
we learned
I-
our lesson when London burned down,
We,
right?
Yeah.
we want to
Like,
make
or we
sure
probably
that
didn't,
when you're
but
building a
eventually
home
we
for your
learned it.
mother-in-law, that it's not going to catch on fire because you
No, I'm
didn't
not
hire
saying-
an
I'm
electrician.
not
We want to
saying-
make sure the floor,
Okay.
second floor isn't going to fall in
Let
because
me finish.
you built it like a
I am
fucking
not
tree
saying
house.
there should be no regulations. I am just saying that the option to do so should exist with anyone who has a property of enough size.
Yes.
Rather than where some cities will prevent you from actively doing that because it's against city code to do that.
Well, yes, and that's
And
what I'm
that
saying.
makes
Some
no
regulations
sense.
are a little excessive,
Right?
but we should have some regulations when building houses that people are going to live in.
Well, okay, I just want to pause and say, like, this is what I would hope a republic would actually sound like when they are brainstorming what bills to pass.
Exactly. There
This
should
type
be
of conversation about the balance between what individual, like what the government owes people versus people owe the government, and how we can work together
yeah.
to
Yeah.
be able to respect our neighbor, but also be empowered to live the lives that we want to live as individuals.
So,
Yeah.
Fran, we don't disagree.
No,
I think
I'm
fundamentally we agree. Yes, there should be some regulations.
It just
but-
shouldn't. It just shouldn't be like a carte blanche thing, right?
Yeah.
Like where Boise just barely started allowing ADUs. We have a housing crisis. Elderly people, in particular, or disabled people, face a housing crisis. But if you have an adult disabled child, being able to build a small ADU on your back of your property,
Maybe not like a 3-story building.
no, but that gives them some autonomy that they may not otherwise be able to go, and provide for like an economic relief, in terms of like putting your disabled child or your elderly parent who can't really live on their own in a facility
And the
is
best
insanely
thing-
expensive.
The best thing you can do to not end up in a situation where you have, is it okay to say the word shanty towns? This comes to mind.
I
feel like
think
it's a bit like spoofing, where I'm like, I don't fully know all the context,
Yeah.
but where you don't end up with these infrastructures that are dangerous
Yeah.
and not conducive to thriving communities, right? How you avoid ending up with that is that you actually have a empowered citizenry that isn't so hard pressed to take care of its people, because it's like if you
Exactly.
if you have a healthy hub in your family, right? Like the sort of the matriarch patriarch type energy, then it just kind of naturally happens for humans that they take care of each other, right? Like in my family, there's this interchange between a couple different households where we do our best to help each other when we're running up against a wall with something that's not going well.
Yeah.
It's your micro community.
Yes. And so if you are able to support the community, if the way government builds out structure is actually supportive of building out a healthy community that is empowered, you got to really trust your neighbor to be reasonably competent,
Yeah.
and to equip them to be reasonably competent rather than micromanaging them.
Exactly. Exactly.
We
Like
need
they're
social support networks that create stable communities.
well, and regulations are typically not designed to infringe upon our rights, right? They're supposed to infringe upon big businesses' right to trample over us, which is what ends up happening. These regulations
to trick us.
and to trick us and to lie to us and to endanger us.
Yes.
And so that's where the regulations come in. So when the Republican talking heads talk about deregulating stuff, they're not talking about deregulating
Business.
us putting solar panels on our roofs or building an ADU. They're talking about deregulating big businesses' obligation to the people that they will directly impact. They're talking about deregulating them from, making sure that their waste isn't contaminating water supplies and soil, and that they're not contaminating.
They're basically doing the exact opposite of what they
but
did at the.
Republicans have done a very good job of selling other people who want deregulation because they don't want it to take them 6 months to get solar
what they
panels.
Just a
did-
Republican issue.
No, I think it's a big business issue because
I
big
think both
businesses have
parties-
done a very good job of convincing people that voting for deregulation will benefit you and I. It will not.
Well, so what they linguistically
poison us.
stole
And
the
that
word.
goes back to the dark money thing.
Yep,
It they linguistically stole the word because deregulation in the early 1900s is what we're talking about, right? It was putting regulations on corporations to keep people safe, right?
Yeah.
And so what the Republicans did geniusly, whether we like it or not, was they took that word and they changed the connotation. So that now deregulation now means what they mean, right? Which is turning down people's rights and turning up business rights.
Goes back to the idea of trickle-down economics, right? Well, we'll deregulate big business,
But
and that will
that's
help
about
you.
when they did it. That's about when they switched the connotation of that word. And so now people don't, when they use it, they're not using it the way that the Republican Party is.
Yeah.
They're using it in the way that we think of it.
Yeah, like, well,
Not
I just want to be able to
realizing.
build an ADU for my grandma. Like, why can't
Yeah.
I do that, right? Well, the city has all these regulations. Well, then they want, well, I want that deregulated. I want less government, smaller government that deregulates that. Okay, but that is not what they are doing. They're going to deregulate and roll back all these EPA protections. Meanwhile, a study just came out that all these biochemicals and poisons and toxins and waste byproducts
Didn't I
is
see
the
something
reason that
about,
we see an increase in it. It actually contributes to Alzheimer's.
Glyphosate?
Yeah.
Right? Didn't I see something about
Yeah.
this administration is deregulating glyphosate?
which is a
interesting.
carcinogen
Well, and okay, all right.
and also
I will
causes birth
say-
defects.
I will say that as far as research goes into these things,
Yeah.
thoughtfully applied glyphosate, I think is the name of it.
Yeah, glycophosphate, I think.
Glycophosate?
Yeah.
Thoughtfully applied, it can be less detrimental to the soil and like uptake into food and things like that than some of the other options. From what I heard from research from, check my sources because this is from my memory 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's still in the quantities, like the farmers that are applying it, it's a carcinogen for them.
Yeah.
But as a home gardener, if I'm up against a wall and I've tried everything else, when I'm going to go down the aisle in the big box store, that might be something that I consider based on research.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't want to derail. I totally derailed us.
No,
That
but
wasn't
I
my
mean,
intention.
I think that that's one of the most interesting
I think
things.
what I wanted to get at with that is that this administration seems to be like that is just a wild example of how they sold their voters, the people that voted for them, one bill of goods and are not delivering.
No. Because make America healthy again, right?
Yes.
Make America healthy again
What
does
do you
not
think
include
that community wanted?
yeah, dumping a known carcinogen in mass all over our crops.
And I should so this is like kind of a pre-discussion, right? I'm like, I want to look up that fact.
Yeah, we should
like
talk
a
about
little-
that kind of stuff.
a little
I
note
would love
to
to do an
follow up.
episode following up on the Make America Healthy Again promises that are absolutely not backfiring. Children dying from measles for the first time in 30 years is not healthy, right?
Well, so
Meanwhile, RFK Jr. is going to wear jeans in a grotto and drink milk, which
and swim in a poisoned river.
That was absolutely. Have you seen that video of RFK Jr.
think I
and
saw
Kid
him
Rock, who,
working-
by the way, looks
they
like
were-
he does way too much meth?
They were working out together. I saw
Oh,
some
you-
video
okay,
of that.
you
Is
can-
that actually RFK's body or was that
Yeah,
AI?
no, that's him. That is not natural. that is at his age. That is the result of
Okay,
steroids.
so I see this article. I just googled it. Trump declares glyphosate production a national defense priority.
Do you know why he did that?
No.
Okay, so the expanded executive power started right around 9/11, right? We gave a ton of executive
Yes,
power.
the Patriot Act.
The Patriot Act started abdicating. So if you start declaring things as part of national security, it gives the executive branch a lot of leeway and power to operate, which is how he did the tariffs, which is how he's done basically everything has been
Which is why
operating
I've been
from.
begging-
It's a national emergency.
Which is why I've been begging our congressmen to own their power that they have, and
They're
won't
not going to.
because of the partisanship.
No, it's not even the partisanship. These guys, particularly Rish, have never done anything that would be considered owning their own power. They do exactly as they are told.
They go in line with the party.
They do whatever they're
Isn't
told.
that partisanship?
I don't know if it's partisanship or so much as just being a
Who's
lapdog.
telling them? Who are
Dark
they
money.
listening to?
We're gonna go back to who's telling them what to
I
do.
feel like they're listening to the Republican Party.
Yeah, but who do you think is donating the money to the Republican Party?
Well, the Republican Party is really at this point just billionaires who
think I've
donate
heard-
to them anymore.
Well, yeah, the billionaires donate to the super PACs and have the backroom conversations.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think any Republican who's been elected is making their own choices.
No, they're not. They're doing exactly what they're told.
They're just puppets.
There's
So
no
it's not like they're
thoughtful
listening to a
analysis involved. They literally have just been doing as they're, particularly our Republicans. Now we can take some like Rand Paul, Massey,
Right.
Tillis, some of those guys, Murkowski, some of those guys have been pushing back, right? And being like, no, I can't violate my rules to here. And it's a weird world when Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, and I are all in alignment about something. Bizarre. But we are, because they're actually holding to some standard of principle, right?
Right.
But the rest of them, our 4 representatives in particular here in Idaho, have been absolutely doing the opposite
Well,
of
I
that.
remember
They are
seeing-
in lockstep with everything
I
that they
remember
want.
seeing for half a second Simpson speak up on behalf of Idaho's public lands. And I don't want to let those little opportunities to say, like, that was good be completely lost.
Yeah.
Because I think those are little beacons for us to follow as this, like, when you see that sort of behavior, you go, yes, this is what it should look like all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right? Am I wrong about that? Was that actually its own form of pandering based on whoever was donating to his campaigns or something?
Simpson has always been historically like very safe in his seat because of the way his stance on public lands has never wavered until last year. He blinked. He was going to vote for the big beautiful bill to sell public lands. He was going to do it. He was labeled as a yes until the public backlash started from Idahoans, from the Idaho Conservation, the ranchers, the hunters, and everybody started pushing back, and then he backtracked. So
Okay, and
I
who
don't
is
know.
the everybody, because that's where it's like
97% of
Republicans and
Idahoans
Democrats.
agree on public land. It's like it is across
Yeah,
the
but
board.
it's been so clear to me that they don't listen to the constituents; they listen to something else.
They
right?
listen to dark money, like
So
we're going to
then
be talking
why
about.
are they
like in
caring about
Marsing?
97% of Idahoans? That's
Probably
what I'm trying
because
to
some
help
of
it.
those donors and some of those people who do have their ear came back in. But if you were to vote against public lands in that bill, that was a death sentence for your career. Now, don't get me wrong, they're just going to come back around with some other way to do it. Fulcher in particular has tried every year that he's been in office to get public lands out of public hands. Like it is his mission statement.
And
Fulcher,
oh my gosh, Fulcher. Well, mission statement. Let me pull up his thing. It's kind of nice having internet access while we're doing this.
he's particularly interesting because he wants to put forth a bill into Congress that says we can only vote on one thing at a time. Every bill has to be a single issued bill. He put that forward last, I think, November or December or sometime. He was like, I'm going to bring this to Congress. It following directly on the heels that he voted for the one big beautiful bill. Dude, if those were your principles and you thought voting for a mass bill like that was wrong, then you should have said something and not done it.
Didn't he claim
my
later
gosh,
that he
yes,
hadn't
that.
read all of it?
No, none of them have.
No, I know he came out after.
But he
voting
actually
yes.
came out and admitted that he hadn't read it.
Yeah.
Many of them have come out and admit they didn't read it because they just did what they were told. But none of these guys have read it because they literally will say to us, they'll respond back then like, there will be no tax on tips. Dude, that isn't actually a thing.
Can I read Fulcher's like actual statement on natural resources on his website?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I haven't read it, so I don't know if it's going to be any kind of meaningful. But the federal government controls 63% of Idaho's natural resources. This results in complications for outdoor groups accessing our lands and eliminates high-wage job opportunities in our rural communities. The federal government's inability to afford proper land management also contributes to extreme wildfires that endanger our health and property. So it does sound like he wants to sell public lands so that, quote unquote, like the market, right? So the billionaires who can afford these big land parcels that would then be sold can allegedly do a better job managing it than a government of the people, by the people, for the people could do.
Which is stupid.
So that sounds wonderful, doesn't it? That sounds good.
It makes it sound good until you think about the implications, right?
So let's talk about how much it costs to fight a fire.
Or maybe the first step is turning the land over to Idaho would be what he would want, but then Idaho can't afford to maintain it.
So what is Idaho going to do?
And I feel like that's
we actually have precedent for all of this.
That is the level of political discussion and political education that I need as a voter, and I hunted for, and now I'm sitting in a position where hopefully if I can kind of make room for it.
Oh, that's why we're here.
Exactly. We can do more and more of that as we grow our abilities as this group of volunteers, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's going to mean we have to bide our time and get things that need to be put in place as a foundation there before we can go out and get funding so that I can do this and then hire somebody to help with the other things that I need to do in life to make space for me. Like, I don't know what that process would look like, but that type of information of, all right, this is what Fulcher is proposing, this is what's on his website. It
sounds great.
And then what is the through line to the actual likely paths? And there can be more than one.
We see this a lot in politics, right? People say, "Oh, the SAVE Act is about making our elections great." I want
to talk about that.
But it's not. When you start stripping it away and you start following the through line, what really happens in actuality, what they say versus what will actually be enacted, are often two different things. Now, Fulcher's exact proposal, we have an actual real world modern historic in the last 50 years example of what happens when Idaho gets public land into state control. In the late 70s, early 80s, Idaho was gifted back several million acres of our public land, right? It was just given back to us by the government. They went, here you guys go. That's your state land now. Guess how much of that land is still public land?
Probably none. Or
about 50%.
Half is pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying that we should.
Guess who owns the other half?
The government?
No, it's
not Idaho.
No, it's gonna be maybe like the movie stars and billionaires that can buy a significant amount of land.
The Wilkes brothers and those guys. They own most of that.
Because they sell large parcels and they sell it in a way that that makes it easiest on them, right? And they're not like we don't have politicians that look out for the interests of the I guess the middle class is
the working
term.
Idahoans.
The working class.
They do not. They look out for the interest of big business and industry.
And that's it.
Because the working class is so busy working. And so that's where the media's role has, at least the way I was taught it, and what makes so much sense to me, the media's role has been to connect the working class with the information that they need to then utilize the government that we have. Because I think we've got a lot of good things going for us in terms of, obviously we've done it wrong and we have different systems for different people and it goes beyond just the working class and the wealthy class.
Epstein glass.
The Epstein class. We have the history of racism and the way that Native Americans haven't been like the government's lied to them and things like that, right? But the heart of the Constitution and what it claims to believe, I think, is a good thing and something that we need to just further that dream into reality, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's why we're here.
Get up on this soapbox.
That is why the Idaho Vanguard was created, right?
Oh, because I was talking about the media.
Yeah,
and
that's our job, is to break it down and make sure you get the information.
And help people know their rights.
Know their rights and know the truth of the information.
Potential themes for No Kings 2, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to do a poll within the Idaho 5051.
You know what my theme is. You know what I want. I want it to be a focus on our rights, particularly as it applies to how voting.
You and I are in complete agreement on that.
It's like as it applies to voting, because voting is coming up and the midterms are so damn important.
On that voting,
it also goes to mutual aid because we have our inalienable rights too, and if we recognize those, even like what's it called, jury nullification.
Yeah,
that's an inalienable right of us as free-thinking people to look at the system and determine, this is where I'll engage, this is where I won't engage. Because I feel like I don't want to try to describe jury nullification because I haven't done the training.
No, but here's the thing. So with all of that is, that's our job, right? Break it down. Make sure you understand the facts, the truth of the information, and how that applies to the context of our information.
Yes.
Because just knowing the facts of the matter don't give you the context of it.
Well, and having somebody who you trust to actually give you the facts that empower you versus giving you the politicians' polished talking points.
Yeah.
And I get that, like, a good soundbite is going to travel so far.
Yeah, it will.
But I feel like those sound bites have to call people into being empowered and to make things digestible. At the same time, we're pushing for whatever it is we can do to get people to a place where they're not having to try to work so hard and like work 3 jobs to scrape by.
Exactly.
So that they can barely even show up to vote.
Exactly.
Let alone.
And all of that is intentional, by the way.
Before they go vote.
Yeah, all of that is intentional.
So I think that is kind of the heart of what our country needs right now to recover from where we're at.
Yep.
We need that mutual aid piece. We need to know the basics of where we have rights within the current system.
Yeah.
And what levers are available to pull, what things we can push on.
That's where Idaho 5051 comes in. We will expose all the levers that you can pull.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. The thing that is, it's all intentional, right? Like the system is not designed as it stands currently to allow the working people to prosper to the point that they can stay engaged. Because if they stay disenfranchised and they can't be engaged because there's too much else, then that is really challenging for them, right? But it also keeps the voters from voting.
Isn't that like massive gish galloping?
Yes.
Like we just throw so much at
it
people
all
or
started
flood
during the
zone.
civil rights movement, right? When we were repealing Jim Crow laws, etc. The powers who did not want those particular people voting had to come up with different ways to prevent them from voting, and they've done it. And the people who were powerful and wealthy in this country at that time tend to be the same people who are powerful and wealthy at this time, right?
Well,
there is a certain demographic.
That goes back to the ethos of how come we ended up with a system where only white landowning males could vote in the first place, right?
Yep.
Because it was the white landowning males that had the...
they believed they were educated.
Well, and they had
They
the
were.
space to have the discussion, right?
Yep.
They had the ability to take off that Tuesday, which was the most convenient for them because they were running their like plantations and whatever the heck all else.
Yep.
And travel to wherever they needed to travel to on that day just to vote.
Yep.
It was very much something that was set up for the people that in that time could be more informed.
Yep.
But when we empower people to have a voice, right? First of all, that was a farce, right? The idea that, only people that are educated in the way that I'm educated can have a meaningful vote.
That was part of it. A lot of people literally could not read.
Yeah, that's where the electoral college comes from.
If you can't read.
No, you could. There's more than one way to do voting. They didn't used to put them in ballot boxes.
But that was their reasoning, was they can't even read, so they can't read the newspaper. They don't know what the newspaper says. They can't read whose name they're actually signing.
So they can't access the information.
Yeah.
Yes, and they could also be lied to about who they're voting.
So that was the vote.
So
yeah, that was the vote. That was the basis of the electoral college, right?
Yeah.
Because it was this idea that at that point in time, about 2/3 of the population was functionally illiterate.
And granted, a lot of people today are functionally illiterate, but they can still read basic things, and they have access to news media, which is verbal.
So the electoral college was put into place to provide representation for those people who couldn't vote.
Y'all, now, it just came full circle, because every time I think about this, I'm like, what we need is solid education and empowering people through education.
Yeah, bingo.
And I just want to also say that, like, while I recognize the thinking process behind only having a few people that are elite be able to vote when the country was founded, that was fundamentally a mistake from the beginning.
It was, absolutely.
It was. But that is part of why they wrote the Constitution the way they did.
Even if people couldn't read, right? Like, even if that's the case, that was still a mistake, because you cannot have a healthy democratic republic when a bunch of the people are disenfranchised. And that comes from an inherent...
So we have tried in the past to rectify that.
Well, I just want to
24th
name
Amendment,
it. Like,
right?
I want to name it.
Well, yeah, but that's part of why they wrote it the way that they did, was they assumed that eventually the American populace would be...
That's the word I was looking for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that inherent view of supremacy.
Yep.
That is basically the, what's it called? It's not hubris. Hubris is the typical, like, fatal flaw in literature. I forget.
The humility?
No, it's not humility. It's the hubris.
Whatever the fatal flaw is of the story arc, right? That idea of supremacy really just, I don't want to use the word I want to use on the podcast.
It's built in.
It fucked over our country.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And it continues to do so, because we continue to see it right now, right? And we see it from our own government currently. The regime posts white supremacy BS on their social media. Like, word for word, blood and soil, that's Nazi stuff. Like, straight up.
Because
straight up.
The antithesis of that is to empower your neighbor, because you know when they are thriving, the rising tide
raises all
ships. And that our thriving is tied up with our neighbor's
if you are someone who has been in a position of power, and in this country, wealth and power are often correlated, if not completely intertwined at all times, and you start to see someone else becoming empowered, that feels like a threat to them.
Right. Well, because you might not necessarily agree, or you might not think that that person has the quality of information that you have.
Exactly.
No. When you're in power, it's about the fact that power is a pie. That's it. To them, power is a pie, that if someone else has power, they lose power.
Yep.
It's not, they don't see it the way the rest of us do, as if rights are just an ocean. Giving more water to someone else in the term of rights doesn't decrease the
because
ocean.
You're not looking at the big picture, you're looking at the control.
That's
what
what
control is a scarce resource, right? You can only have so much control.
Depending on the population and populace that you're looking at, yeah.
But thriving is not that.
But the people in power, when they see the little people getting power, even though to us...
They see that they're losing control.
Yes.
Yep.
Because they are.
They are.
And because to them that is scary.
To them that is scary, because they want to hold on to that, right? Like, I mean, let's take Rish, for example. Rish has been in office, serving in office from the state legislature on up into the Senate since 1977. Do you really think that a man who has been doing that this long has any idea, and he's worth well over $50 million, and that's the low estimate. Do you think he has any idea what it is like to currently be an Idahoan?
I think Pop needs to enjoy his retirement.
Yeah, he's 82.
Yeah.
What does he know what it's like to be a millennial
Well, and
trying to buy land, etc. in
He's
Idaho?
been in it for so long. That's why we also need term limits, right?
Well, and
Because not
here's
only is
the
he older, he's also been in that role for long enough that it has really taken him and shifted his ability to even like I'm hoping he doesn't think bananas cost $10.
So,
but
but
a lot of these people do.
he's running again. He's 82 and he's running again. What logical reason does he have to do that? He's 82. Man,
it's
go.
just his comfort.
You have millions of dollars, more money than you could possibly spend in the last maybe decade of your
He
life.
could go be a greeter at Walmart.
But he doesn't want to give up the one thing he's got there, and that is power. It's not about making change, because if he was going to be making positive changes for the country, he would have done that. He has not. His voting record is fucking atrocious.
We talk about how it's literally just doing what other people tell him to.
Yeah,
right.
To maintain his own power and his wealth.
I don't think that he has any.
He thinks that he does. He's power adjacent.
It's a sense of importance,
yes.
right? It's part of, and it's a human need, right? Now, that goes back to the
at 82, you should be mature enough as an adult to not need it anymore.
Oh no!
Well, here's the thing:
that is not how people work.
I know,
right? That
I know. It's
maturity
frustrating.
is not guaranteed with age. We
Oh
have
God,
to
no.
work for it. And so I do think that he probably does it for the same reason that like I'm probably not going to want to retire when it's time for me to retire, right? Because I've kind of...
Well, you're a millennial, Sonya. You don't get to retire.
Sure. But at the same time, like for me, and honestly, this is something we didn't acknowledge earlier when we were talking about SNAP. I think a lot of folks want to contribute. They want meaningful work, right?
Oh, most people do.
And so when we start talking about things like SNAP or Medicaid, people feel like they're going to be, what is the phrase, nanny state?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is an important piece of the conversation, that if there could be somebody, and I guess it's going to have to be us trying it out and shaking things up and seeing what we can do, to acknowledge that, right? That there's validity to not wanting to tell somebody when to show up and what to do when they actually have plenty of their own agency that they want to enact.
Yeah.
How did we get there from talking about Jim Risch wanting to stay in office? Oh, he wants to keep working, and he's done this for so long that it probably feels like second nature to him to keep doing things the way he's been doing them.
Yeah, just rubber stamp whatever you're told to.
You know, well, and if it was a job like being a greeter at Walmart, like that can be really actually kind of cool and fulfilling for some folks, right?
Yeah.
Or if he had experience, pulling from a little bit personal example, right? Like doing engineering work on building roads, and you know those equations in and out, and you know the landscape, and you've learned the topography, and I don't know what all else, and you are not in a place in your life where you're going to be building out new skills and putting all this energy into innovating it, but you know what you know really well, and you're an incredible fountain of wisdom.
Is he?
History? No. This is another hypothetical person, and I'm actually kind of building off of somebody that I know and admire in my life. Right?
Yeah.
And if that person doesn't want to retire, that's great. I don't think that applies to congressmen. I think that if there wanted to be an advisor role, right, where you're kind of a congressman emeritus, right? We have that for professors. You can be a professor emeritus, and you're not out there doing the cutting edge research. You are...
We do have that. We call them lobbyists.
Okay, yeah. So he could go be a lobbyist, right?
Yeah.
And the Queen, right? People in the UK have to deal with the conversation of whether or not the Queen has a purpose. Oh, I see you look at me because you've got personal ties there.
Yes. For those who don't know, my family is English.
And so
British.
From what I understand, from my United States American perspective, right, is that the Queen and like the role of the royalty over time has come to be advising and like leading by setting a tone.
Yep.
But primarily advising and having conversations with the Prime Minister, and the Queen is supposed to kind of always be there. Or I guess now we have a male queen, but you know she's always supposed to be there in order to say, yep, I remember when this happened when I first came in 1950, or I remember my father telling me about this.
Yeah.
Um,
So the role of the monarchy in England is
to have a voice, but not necessarily a vote.
exactly. It's a figurehead. Their job is
But
to set the tone.
That can like kind of cheapen it when you just say it's just a figurehead. It sounds like a mascot, and I think it's more than
Kind of.
At this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of actual
Well, I don't
legislative
think
power.
I don't think lobbyists are mascots. I
No,
understand
lobbyists
what
actually have a significant amount of power in terms of influence,
and
right?
my
But a lot
understanding
of
was that the Queen had real influence.
she could, by virtue of being the queen, hasn't proven
And by
to
virtue
work that
of
way
all of
with
that
Charles.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hasn't worked that way
Well,
with
and the
Charles.
wisdom to use your influence.
Because
effectively.
when you're raised in the royal family, you're kind of it's like from birth. It's not something you decide you're going to do at 30. Right? Like you're told from the get-go that this is going to be your thing, so you just have to deal with it, the heir and the spare and all of that stuff, you know.
Right.
Like William has no option to marry an American actress and live in California. He has zero option for that. He's the heir.
Well, without like
Harry
without
does have the option to do that.
Well, there was still scandal, right?
No, it was a
There
scandal because she was, for a lot of reasons that are completely,
Asinine.
a lot of racist reasons.
Well, and you can also like give up the throne, so to speak, right?
You
Without
can
a massive-
abdicate.
Yes.
You can abdicate. It is not been done very often. Edward did abdicate the throne because he was going to marry a divorcee, and they just absolutely lost their mind. Which, again, goes back to the idea that the royal family in England is more of a figurehead than they are anything else. Because if the biggest scandal to prevent someone from becoming king is that he wants to marry a divorcee, you don't really have a lot of work that you're actually enacting, right? But their job is to be advisors. Their job is to set the tone for leadership. Now, ironically, that same job is supposed to apply to the president of the United States. They are supposed to set the tone.
Ouch. Oh, ouch. Thank you for that.
But
for some reason, I briefly was thinking about the UK and was blissfully unaware of our current context for just such a sweet brief moment.
For
And
such
then
a
all
sweet
of us
brief
came
moment.
crashing back.
We should probably record the actual episode that we're going to record today.
I feel like, yeah. in
Wait,
some
was
ways
none
we-
of that on?
That's all recorded.
Okay.
In some ways, we really did it.
We really
Well,
did.
It's 1 o'clock, so yeah. How long was that?
That was like 46 minutes and change.
I feel really good about it.
Do you want to just like have that be the episode and this will just be a super casual episode?
Yeah, I
That's
kind of.
Okay.
Or we could save it because it's pretty free from current events.
Yeah.
So if we have another off week, hey guys, apparently we're having an off week if you're hearing this, right?
Yeah.
And then we can, do the beginning part.
I have to
and
go
the
back
end
to work
part.
in the next 30 minutes, so if you guys want to record again, you can do it yourself. I don't have time.
Okay.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, this is not a full-time gig. All of us who are involved with the Vanguard are volunteers, and we do what we can. It is a full-time job for me, on top of my actual job.
Well, no, because if that makes it sound paid, it is not.
It is not, but it is a job I work for free. The same with Idaho 5051. We are all volunteers. We don't get a dime out of it. And so we put in a lot of hours, but just as like Lotus mentioned, a lot of it is between doing other things. Like Lotus is here basically on what amounts to being her lunch break.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're juggling a lot. So if ever there's episodes that get delayed or you don't hear from us for a minute, just know it's because we're doing a lot of other things.
We have bills to pay.
Yeah, we all have bills to pay, and unfortunately, these bills aren't being paid by doing this work yet. If you want to change that, you can donate
Like,
to
subscribe.
us. Like and subscribe and donate and join and become a paid member for the podcast. It would be
And there
amazing.
might be
It
some
helps us.
time in between as well. Like, please donate, like, subscribe, because it'll further the work we're doing. But also, there's a lot of conversations and building that foundation that we're currently doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a few, I would say, building that foundation, there's a few projects that have to happen.
Yeah.
Like, we have to really dig it out and then pour the concrete. And then we can start thinking about building out a building of potentially paying people
Yeah.
instead of having it be strictly volunteer.
Yeah. But we do want to get to that point. We want to get to that point where we can, at least with the Vanguard in particular, pay people to do this full time, to bring you that information, to break that information down for you, give you the truth in context.
I think that'd be
Right?
so cool.
That is something we really want to do, but that doesn't happen for free because the bank refuses to accept an IOU for the mortgage.
Well, and
So-
the work that goes into it, like that's part of why I don't just already know where the dark money comes from and what
Yeah.
it means and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of back end stuff that
If
happens.
somebody wanted to hire me to do that research, right, and then hang out with all of us and get the information out there in an entertaining, accessible way,
Yep.
I would absolutely take that job in a heartbeat.
Hell yes. That's exactly what we want to do here. So like, comment, follow, subscribe, share, consider sending a donation. You can join the Substack, for as little as like $5 a month. Every little bit helps us.
If you know how to build organizational foundations.
Yeah, we
and
also
how to
accept new
navigate-
volunteers who have more skills than we do.
know how to advocate incorporating and all
Yeah,
of that sort
we
of
would love
legal
that.
stuff. We're getting there, but we're getting there from the ground up.
Yeah.
And so any amount of bringing in expertise,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
So, have a good day. Stay frosty, stay informed, guardians.
Stay
and-
hydrated.
And make sure,
Gen Z, drink your water.
yeah, and make sure you're holding all of the families affected by ICE in your thoughts.
Yes.
We'll see you on the outside.